All right, everyone ready to start? Great. So first of all, we want to thank you so much for coming today. We think it's wonderful to see so many people who are interested in this workshop, and I know we're all really excited about the workshop on our end. So this should be a fun hour that we're going to spend together. My name's Claire. I'm the Sustainable Transportation Intern for UVM's Office of Sustainability and the Office of Transportation and Parking Services. So I'm going to be helping moderate today's discussion. But mostly you'll be hearing from two amazing women, Eliana Fox, the Program Coordinator for Local Motion, and Peggy O'Neill-Vivanco, the Coordinator for Vermont Clean Cities Coalition. They're both avid bike riders, have a lot of experience navigating the chilly winter months on wheels. So today they'll be sharing some of their winter biking tips and tools and gear suggestions to help everyone here have the best winter biking experience possible. We also have Jessica Poulin, another member of Vermont Clean Cities Coalition, helping us out today. So good team that we got here. While Eliana and Peggy are presenting, we'd love if you could just mute yourself so we can learn as much as possible. And we understand you'll probably have a lot of questions, so feel free to blow up the chat. We'll be stopping halfway through the presentation to answer some of those questions, and then we'll be having an open discussion at the end too. So there'll be plenty of chance for us to talk with each other and really flesh out some of the specifics that y'all are wondering. And also, for everyone who completes the workshop, we'll be raffling off some very fun prizes at the end, so make sure that you stay. And we'll email you over the next few days if you won. And again, my name's Claire. It's wonderful you all took time to join us today. We're very excited about this, and I'm going to hand it off to Eliana and Peggy so that we can get started.
Thank you, Claire. Again, thanks everyone for joining us. Let's just spend a moment thanking everybody. I want to thank Abby Blything and the Office of Sustainability for helping to put this on, Claire from Transportation and Parking Services, our great friends at Local Motion and Eliana Fox, UVM Transportation Research Center, Vermont Clean Cities, and then some of our other partners who are part of this, but also part of the International Bike to Work Day, which is on the 11th. Our friends from CATMA, UVM Bikes Co-op, Champlain College Transportation, Terry Bicycles, and REI. So let's get started. As Claire mentioned, we'll have a raffle. So anyone who participates in this webinar, your name is thrown in there. So thank you. So I did reflect this morning as I was getting ready to get out on the bike that I actually was not really excited to ride this morning. It was not super cold, but it was like just really kind of crappy. It was not snow and not rain. But I thought as I rode over to work, I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity to reflect on kind of all the pieces that we need to ride and just how to get out the door. So what we first want to do is figure out, you're not seeing my slides advance, are you? Yes, can you see that one? Yeah, okay. We want to figure out our audience. Who's ridden their bike in the winter? Jessica, can you set up the poll? We'll have a poll pop up. And if the poll doesn't pop up for you, if you don't have the access to Teams, then just write in the chat, just so we get a sense of who we're speaking to. You've never ridden, you have, but it's been a while. You do sometimes, you do regularly, or whatever else. So just take a second. The poll should be up on your screen. And again, if not, just write a response in the chat. So we have a no, never. No, never is taking the lead. I have, but it's been a while. Yes, regularly. Okay, I know who those yes regularly people are. All right, so we're going to go with no, never, which is great. You're in the right place. Okay, so this workshop, we want it to be interactive. We want you to kind of leave with some tools and some goals, really for all of us. So we're going to give you a challenge in a little bit. We're going to talk about preparation and safe winter biking. techniques for riding on snow and ice. We'll have an opportunity to pause for questions after we get kind of partway through. And then Eliana will take over and talk really about a winter riding mindset, your clothing and gear, and how to maintain your bike in the winter. Salt and snow are not friends of a bike. And then we'll have a time for more question and answer. Hey, challenges of winter biking. It's cold. Yep. The weather, it's icy, it's snowy, it's sludgy. Sometimes just the cold is enough to be a deterrent. And then you think about a day like today. Look out your window. I'm looking right out the window. There's water. There's now ice. There's snow. There's like that gunk on the side of the road. And all those things are kind of impacting, they're closing the road a little bit for us, and making things slick, and making things a little unpredictable. But these are all things that we can overcome. So thinking about that, and thinking about, for those who haven't ridden and are interested in trying to ride, write down or think about 5 places, like this is for you, do this right now. 5 places you drive to every day or week. Not necessarily, being in Burlington and driving out to the Northeast Kingdom or driving out to Williston necessarily, but think about, the places not too far from home. And then choose 2 places in that list in your head that you think are feasible to replace with a bike trip. And think about, could you try 1 each week to see how it goes? So keep those in mind. And then based on, now we're going to have another poll, based on those 2 places that you have in mind, what do you need to do to ride there this winter? Is it gear? Is it mapping? Do you need a test ride? Do you need to go with a partner or friend or other? And again, fill out the poll or write something in the chat. There's no right or wrong answer. Gear looks like it's coming up. Gear and test ride. Anything else? I don't know if there's anything in the chat. Okay, great. So we've got some new riders who are looking for some gear, who think they could probably ride to at least 2 of these places near their home in the next month or so, right? Okay. So in preparing for your route and your winter commute, you really do want to find a route that's biker friendly. And if you're used to driving or you're used to riding in nice weather, you really need a different mindset. Again, thinking about kind of the sludge and the ice and so forth. But you want to think about how this route is going to differ from your car route. Go to Google Maps. If you go to Google Maps and you kind of do map your destination, you could put car, you could put walking, or you could put biking. If you do biking, that's a great tool to figure out maybe there's some other options that where a car doesn't go that a bike could go. So that's a good place to start. Check the weather. If you're going to start riding, and I would say back up. I would say if you are not new to riding, a day like today, I wouldn't ride. Honestly, I would not have ridden today if I were not doing this bike workshop. Only because I was just feeling a little lazy. But this is not a day to try your first ride. You want to try your ride on a day where the sun is shining and it's really cold, but you have all your gear and the streets are kind of as clear as possible. Set yourself up for success. And Eliana will talk more about that later. But so for today, when I was getting ready to go, it was just kind of like, I don't know, sleeting or some kind of just dreadful wet stuff that wasn't snow. and it was like hitting me in the face. But I also wasn't very cold, but I knew the temperature was gonna drop. So I had to like make sure that I checked the weather, and you'd have to be living under a rock today to not know that we're getting this major storm, so that I had the right gear for my ride home. So you don't dress for now, you need to dress for the worst part of the day and make sure you've got, your buff. And again, Eliana will talk more about some of those details, but planning for the worst part of the day is really important. And another thing is getting everything ready, and being kind of more methodical. Running from your office building to your car without an umbrella it's not too bad, but riding your bike home when your hands are freezing really sucks. On a day like today, glasses and goggles are really key, but you want to make sure that you have eyewear that's good for dark conditions. So I have like these glasses, and they have like several different kinds of lenses. They've got dark, they've got clear. This is something that's like easy that I could just throw in my bag. I tend to wear goggles, and my goggles, sorry, I should have gotten my get clip. My goggles are not really dark ones. They're ski goggles, but they're pretty light. I could definitely wear them today and into maybe early evening. These are the things you want to start thinking about with your gear. And your gear is going to be personal. If you get cold hands, you're going to want like the warmest mittens on earth that can still change gears and brake. Sorry. And then you want to think about where you are on your bike in the bike lane. Again, this picture is great because it shows the mucky muck on the side. And so really taking the lane as a cyclist is your safest bet. You want to be safe, you want to be visible so that cars and pedestrians see you. You want to be predictable. And your job is also to make sure as you bike, kind of watching for those icy spots. The ice will appear kind of where there are little shadows. They're going to appear closer to a curve and turns. So your riding is going to be a little slower, and you're also going to be spending the first couple of times you ride is just really kind of how do you get used to scanning? What are you scanning for? And the visibility piece, super key. Oh, my jacket's drying, but I've got one of those bright yellow things. It's like a jacket over a jacket. You can get a bright color jacket if you want. I find that the bright yellow jacket is something that I can put over everything. It's super huge. So it fits over a winter parka, but I can also wear it over something smaller. And then it's always in my bike bag, always. And be visible. I have lights that are generated on my bike, but on a day like today, my lights are on. Like you just got to keep them on so that other vehicles and riders can see you. And for the gear piece, you also don't need a fancy fat tire bike. You don't need any fancy new bike. Start with what you have and take care of it. You can also look at a place like Old Spokes Home and get a used mountain bike. You want something with a lower center of gravity. When I first started riding in the winter, I actually got a size smaller than I normally rode. And I was a competent cyclist, but I just felt like I hadn't ridden in winter, and I wanted to be sure that I could just like easily put my feet on the ground. So if you have the flexibility to, get a smaller bike or borrow a smaller bike, try that. You don't want your road bike. You want something with fat tires, like chunky tires on a fat tire bike. You can lower your tire pressure so that your tires grip a little bit more. And you're stable and smooth. Basically, you want to be on a bike that you feel comfortable handling, as well as being, again, able to put your feet on the ground pretty quickly, whether you're kind of spinning out on ice or whether you're kind of turning into some plowed snow. And again, because winter is pretty rough on bikes, you want to make sure that you're not taking out your fancy Pinarello or anything like that. And try some of these routes closer to home. Like even as you plan that bike trip where you're thinking, okay, I really want to go ahead and try this. Go out on a day where the roads aren't bad. Again, not like today or tomorrow. Try riding in a car park, try riding on a bike path, come up to UVM. They do a really good job clearing the pathways along campus. And it's a great way to just like, try this out. Overcoming obstacles. You will always bump into a chunk of something in the road, whether it's like a piece of asphalt that's like hunked up or snow over something that's like just a bump that you think, oh, that's just snow. Don't ride through that stuff. Let me tell you, I think anyone who has ridden their bike in the winter can tell you from experience. You may find out the hard way that it's actually a piece of asphalt covered by like some fluffy white snow. And I see Eliana shaking her head. And you don't want to find out the hard way that was not something that was soft and fluffy. So get off your bike and walk around it. Don't feel, and even if like the snow, like I'm looking at this path with Eliana's bike and you can kind of see her line squiggled a little bit. So if you need to get off your bike to walk it through something to make you feel safe, and everyone has different thresholds for safety, then do it. The goal is to stay upright and to try to do it again another time, right? If you do hit an ice patch, and you will, hopefully not your first time, because on your first time, you're going out when the sun is shining and it had snowed, 2 weeks ago and it's just cold. But you're going to be aware of it. As I mentioned earlier, ice patches hide in shadowy areas, and there's one that I almost always hit when I ride up onto UVM campus. And I bet you if Nick Anderson is on this call, he probably hits it too. We reverse commutes, and it's coming off the UVM path by the admissions office, and there's a driveway there, and it's just dicey. So kind of know where to look for ice and be ready. I've slipped there before, but just ready to put your foot down. Again, it's that idea of like your bike is the right size for you and that you're able to get your foot down. And you don't want to have like driving, like, don't be skidding and recognize where your brakes are. You don't want to be jamming on your front brake and go flipping over the handlebar. Your back brake is going to be kind of a better tool for you. And again, this is something that you can practice in a snowy car park on a Sunday afternoon to see what is it like to like skid in the snow. And we probably did this when we were younger, where we would like skid out on dirt. Try doing it as an adult. Our center of gravity is higher and the consequences of a fall are greater. But if you know how to fall or know how to anticipate some of those skids, you're going to be in good shape. Okay, I just threw a lot of information out at you. Let's hear from folks who has questions, either about gear, about the bike, about what time of day to ride, anything. You can raise your hand or we can call on you.
Yeah, I know. I have one in. I just like, it's more like I kind of want to, I would like to commute, like at some point, like in residency, particularly when I feel like I'm not going to have time to work out that much. I would really enjoy like commuting by bike, especially if I could. If like right now where I live, I could commute. It's just like I don't have the gear and the equipment to do so. And also like I'm bad at my timing in the morning. So it would mean I would like actually have to leave early and like blah, blah, blah.
It is, but you know what?
What'd you say?
So is this Alex?
It could. You know, it really could.
Is Alex, Alex, are you talking to us or are you talking to somebody else? Oh, maybe.
I
don't
thought
know.
I was on mute.
Oh, no, did you want us to answer your question or, because we all heard it, or no?
What question do you think I asked?
Oh, maybe it wasn't this Alex, maybe it was somebody else. I saw that, I saw a couple of bubbles. Someone
Yeah, we have,
asking about being in residency and wanting to try to commute.
yeah, we have two Alexes in the group right now. So
There's the problem. I'm going to go back on mute.
Okay, okay.
It seems like the other Alex left the chat, but we do have some questions in the chat. For example, Jenny Bauer is asking, have you ever tried those gloves that sit on your handlebar? Maybe they're called bar mitts. I know you guys know a bit about this. So.
yeah,
Yeah, and there are, I feel like it's like cilantro. People love them, people hate them. There's not really a middle road. I really like them, and then I can wear a thin pair of gloves underneath. And other people feel like they rather have a warmer pair of gloves and not use them because they're harder to get your hands in and out when you're signaling. Eliana,
Yeah.
you want to jump in on that?
yeah. I was just gonna say I feel like I'm one of those middle of the road people, honestly. For days that are above 0 degrees, I will usually opt for just a thicker glove. But when it's in the negative degrees, I will go ahead and use my bar mitts. And I don't really have a super duper preference either way. I will say that wearing gloves is just kind of easier. But bar mitts are super helpful for protecting your hands from the wind and really bitter, frigid cold on those, like I said, below 0 days. So like the last winter bike to work day event that we had in 2020 in February, it was like below 10. And I think that was the last, or negative 10 degrees, excuse me. And that was like the last time that I used them. I found a pair of gloves that I really like this winter, so I haven't used them.
Yeah, gear is personal, but try them. And I think what also helps is kind of reaching out to a bike community. I know Bikeable Burlington now, for those of you who do Facebook, hey, if you email me and you want to try my bar mitts, I'll let you try my bar mitts. Find people before you make that investment. Go ahead and try them out. Claire, any other questions?
Yeah, we have a bunch in the chat, which is awesome. Keep them coming. So we have a question from Janet Franz. Do you recommend specific tires? And there's a few other questions too about studded tires. Like, do you need them, or worn down, should they be replaced?
I want to make this accessible for everybody. If you're just starting out and you're going to ride on cold, clear road days, then just get a chunky mountain bike tire. It's less expensive, and then release some of the air pressure. I'm going to make this up, and so I'm going to ask for someone to jump in. Like, I don't know, maybe like 10%, maybe less. I don't know. But I have studded tires, and I love them. That's for me is because I'm riding on a day like today. I feel just super great, but they can be expensive. They're between like $65 and $100 or even more, less than a pair of snow tires for your car.
Yeah. I will say I rode my whole first season on just my regular tires. They're a little bit wider, and they had a little bit of a tread on them. You definitely, if your tires are worn down for multiple reasons, you should replace those and make sure they have tread beyond just the ability to grip, right? And as far as your tire pressure actually goes, you can check out the side of your tire and see what the recommended PSI range is, and just go to kind of the lower end of that range. So yeah, I can't remember what my range off the top of my head is, but it's like between 40 and 80 PSI maybe. And so, anywhere in that range, like I would put it maybe at like 45 or 50 for the winter. And then on the warmer summer days, it'll be like in the 60s or something like that. And then, yeah, I mean, as far as studs go, I got them for the first time this year. They definitely, boost up your confidence riding on ice and snow. Yeah, period. That's what I'll say about that.
But yeah,
you can do it both ways.
I would say to start with,
Yeah.
you don't need them if you're not going to be, again, if you're just starting and you want to say like, how do I set myself up for success? Don't go out on an icy day. Just go out on a cold day.
Yeah.
Eliana, bouncing off of that tire pressure, somebody was wondering, or Marlena was wondering, how tips that you have for lowering tire pressure. They haven't done this before.
Oh,
Yeah.
ask one of my kids to pump up your tires and it will come out with less pressure than you started with.
Marlena, that's a great question. If you are a commuter like me, you have a pump at home, so you can check your tire pressure that way, and adjust it appropriately. But there are tons of little fix-it stations all around Burlington area too that you can use the pump there and check it out. And I would say if you don't have the exact pressure gauge on there, you can also feel your tire. You want to be able to press it in just like a tiny bit. You don't want to be able to press it in more than like half an inch or a quarter of an inch maybe. But if you can just press it like a little bit, like it feels a little bit squishy, you're probably good to go. Not so squishy that you can imagine like going off a curve and the weight of gravity and yourself, pinches it and gives you a flat, but just enough so that you can sense that the tire is like flattening just a little bit.
I'm gonna give you a fruit example because I just have a piece of fruit in my bag. So you don't want a ripe banana, right? But like, look at this orange. Like you can just like, can you even see this? You can kind of, you can squeeze a little bit. It's still firm. I'm not flattening it, but I'm just putting a little pressure in there and it moves a little bit. That's the level. You don't want like an overripe tomato where you're going to, because you're going to get a flat tire. So I don't know if this is a good example or not, but but I feel like, you got a little give there. That's what you want for your bike tire.
Yeah, good example.
I'm also just going to jump in and recommend for people who are on campus, you could always go to UVM Bikes. I know that they have really great they have really great people there who can help you get it to the tire pressure that you need. They're awesome, and they have a new location at 86th South Prospect Street in case you haven't seen it yet. So we have a few more questions here. One of them is, how comfortable would it be to ride in the winter for 23 minutes? And what bike in which price range do you recommend to buy? So those are kind of two separate questions.
So 23 minutes, like what you will find is your core is gonna stay warm, right? It's like fingers, nose, and toes. So on a really cold day, I usually wear like a balaclava, like this. I think the guy in yellow has a balaclava in this, but it's down a little bit, and goggles. So, and I would put my balaclava underneath my goggles so that so everything doesn't get steamed up. So nothing is exposed. We talked about this the other day. The thing that gets really cold for me is like this part right above my eyebrow. So make sure, but again, you may find that part of your body stays warm. So it's kind of covering skin on those really cold days, because you're not just standing out there, but you are moving into the wind, which I think is easy to forget. So while your core is warming up, that skin like above your eyebrows is really cold, and that's when you're going to figure out whether you want warm gloves or the bar mitts. And I know you're going to talk about this too, Eliana. The right kind of rain pants or snow pants. So the first time I rode, I put on like ski pants over my jeans, and it was a little too tight. I literally almost died because it was so tight. And by the time I got off my bike to bend over to lock my bike, I thought I was going to explode. So don't do it. Don't put snow pants over jeans unless you're like a heck of a lot skinnier, and that can happen. You get it like an inexpensive pair of rain pants because your body is going to be warm. You just want it dry.
Right.
And they're nice elastic waist.
Yeah. As far as the first question goes, 23 minutes, I feel is totally doable. Of course, what you're wearing is totally going to depend on the temperature. So, for instance, yesterday I biked to an event that was 15 minutes away, and it was 30 degrees, and I just wore this sweater, one base layer, and a vest, and I warmed up. But on a 15-degree day, I'd probably throw in a a wind resistant layer, especially wind resistant, water resistant if it's going to be snowing. So you will, as you start winter riding, figure out what combinations of gear you need for those different temperatures. So it's just a little bit of practice in that way. And then as far as the bike goes, if you're buying a bike that is specifically for winter commuting, I would say don't spend a lot of money on it. Any kind of, like Peggy said, like an old style mountain bike or commuter style bike that has a little bigger tires, will do the job as long as it's comfortable enough for you. With that being said, I'm not one of those people. I use the commuter bike that I have like all year round. So if you have your commuter bike that you want to use, you just got to be sure you're cleaning it. And I'll talk a little bit about cleaning techniques and that sort of thing later on. Hopefully that answers your question.
Do either have a price range that you could potentially offer?
I'm gonna give mine because I have a specific winter bike. I went to Old Spokes just say last year. It was before the pandemic, whenever that was. And I got a Ride 365. So it's an old style mountain bike. But I had, I had like changed out the handlebars so I could be more upright and had the lights put in there. So, God, I don't know, Luis, I know you're on the call. What did we spend about like, I don't know, $500 with studs, studded tires, the lights. What do you think, Luis?
Yeah, I think all told it was about $500. But the key advantage about the Ride 365 is it is literally built so that you can ride it all year round. So if, for example, it has an internal hub, derailleurs get full of muck. So an internal hub can be really helpful. Anyway, so they're designed specifically to be able to ride all year round.
Yes, no, thank you. No, I appreciate that. That's my husband who got me into winter biking. And the bike I had before that was basically a kid's mountain bike. And that was like basically fell off the back of a truck. So you can spend a smaller amount of money but pay a little extra for the internal hub so that you have fewer kind of visible moving parts or parts that are exposed to salt and ice. And then there are folks who get, really expensive bikes, but they have the time maybe to wash them after every single use. I don't. So. All right. Any other questions before we head over to Eliana?
Yeah, we have a few more.
Okay.
So quick, I think you've commented on this a bit, but just if you have anything else to say, Janet was saying you say winter is hard on bikes. Will it ruin my bike? And a few other people were wondering about that too.
Yeah. It won't ruin your bike as long as you are able to take care of it a bit. And what I mean by that is after almost every ride, if you can, just wipe it down or spray it off. Like warm water, a rag, maybe a tiny bit of dish soap will go a long way for just preserving the parts. And I'm wondering if this is a good time just to move on because I'm going to talk about all of this in detail in that way. Maybe we'll answer everyone's questions like in the one slide.
Yes. Yeah. I think so let's get to the rest of the questions at the end.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So Eliana, take it over from here. Thank you.
Okay. Peggy, would you mind advancing the slide for me, please? Thank you. All right. So, identifying those obstacles and talking about those different skills that Peggy went over are super important for understanding your bike commute. And this part may sound a little cheesy, but another important aspect of bike commuting in the winter is your mindset, kind of how you think about your winter bike ride. So one thing that one of my new colleagues shared with me that I really like is treating every winter bike commute as a shakedown ride. So in other words, it's a learning experience to better understand yourself and what you personally need for winter biking each time. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect. You're going to learn what are your cold spots and what gear might you need to keep them a bit warmer next time. What streets or turns felt a little bit sketchy, and how will you ride them differently in the future, or will you take a different route? So just as an example, like my first season winter bike commuting, I was making a right-hand turn on Manhattan Drive in the new north end of old north end of Burlington, and I took it really tight and really fast and just completely slipped out. And that is the first and only time I've slipped out, because I learned, okay, need to take my turns a little bit slower, maybe not as sharp during the winter, because that particular spot in the road has kind of like a brick crosswalk on it, which gets extra slippery. So thinking about what are you taking away and learning from each ride. And, that fall happened and I was super embarrassed, but I got up, I was fine. The basket on my bike was a little crooked, but had to get to work. So you just pick yourself up and try not to feel bad about it, and don't scare yourself too much, because you learn and you adjust. Just try to be prepared for it. And then the other mindset that can help you get through it, you can ease your mind by knowing you have backups. So this can be public transportation, walking. For me, I don't have a car of my own, so if it's really, really bad, like it's going to be tomorrow, I might take the bus and walk part of the way, or stick my bike on the bus. If your employer is a CATMA member, like UVM is and a couple of others, they have a guaranteed ride home program that you can take advantage of, where if you bike to work and it's snowing really hard by the end of the day, you can take a free cab home. So just know that those resources are available for you. And if you're planning a winter bike commute, maybe just do a little bit of digging to see what might be available for you. So your transit, cab service, guaranteed ride home, all those resources are available. Next slide. All right, so now we'll talk a little bit more about gear. We alluded to all this in the questions and that sort of thing, but your extremities are the parts that get cold the fastest. So your hands, your feet, your nose, and your cheeks. So having good gloves or mittens are super important. Bar mitts are a plus sometimes, and like I said earlier, I find I only really need them on the below 0 days. Waterproof shoes, either hiking boots or your winter boots, are good. Some people use like neoprene shoe covers. Most days I'll just wear, depending on the temperature, if it's above 20 degrees, I'll wear my regular Blundstone like Chelsea boots, or if it's going to be colder than that, I wear LL Bean boots, because they're a little more waterproof and have a little more insulation. And we also talked about this too, but you want to start your ride with a cool core, and just wear your layers, like a base layer, like long johns or running tights, a mid layer like a sweater, fleece. If it's really slushy out there, it's not sunny, it's cloudy, and you can tell the roads just look a little bit wet, you're going to want maybe some rain pants. And you can get rain pants for cheap. I got a used pair at OG for, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 bucks. And those are the ones that I use. On the really cold days, you want to keep all your skin covered, and the most challenging part is definitely your face. So having that buff or balaclava to keep your face covered as much as possible is important. You just don't want to have your skin exposed. And then lastly, eye protection is really important, and this is something that I need to get better on myself. I never wear glasses when I ride, even though I should. So lightly tinted or clear eye protection is important, not only for keeping like snow and precipitation out of your eyes, but also if any like debris from the road gets kind of kicked up, that can happen occasionally. So just protecting your eyes is really important, so you can practice those skills that Peggy was talking about, looking out for what's in front of you, that sort of thing. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is our official sort of gear list, things that we deem are really important and stuff that is kind of a bonus if you want. So a lot of people say there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. I think this is true like most of the time. The better gear you have, the better off you'll be. But of course, like there are always going to be days where it's just going to be really hard to ride, like Peggy said this morning. So, necessary gear, your gloves or your mittens, your hands are going to get cold. Eye protection, I just talked about. For the colder days, having a thin hat under your helmet is helpful. I usually just wear like an ear band instead of a full-on hat because my hair keeps me pretty warm, and that way it doesn't get too messed up under the hat. Because for me, it's really just about my ears that get cold. You may be different. For the really cold days, again, I mentioned the buff or the balaclava, just to make sure your skin is not too exposed. Again, those waterproof shoes, you don't want your feet getting wet. Your feet are almost like the most vulnerable part because they're close to the road. If you have fenders on your bike, your feet are not protected by your fenders. So those really should be waterproof if you can. Absolutely, you need lights. It's the law in Burlington to have front and rear lights. In Vermont, you need a front light and a rear reflector. And beyond just the legal aspect of it, it's super important for your visibility so that other road users can see you. And then again, if you don't have fenders on your bike, you're going to want those waterproof layers. So that's rain pants, a rain jacket over your whatever layers you're wearing. And then the recommended optional gear, most of this is just for your bike itself. So fenders, the things that go over your tires to prevent sludge and salt and snow from coming up onto your clothes. They're kind of a game changer, but if you're wearing waterproof clothing that you don't mind getting dirty, you don't need them. Bar mitts, we've talked about a couple times. Helpful for the super cold days. Studded tires are really good for the ice, but again, kind of if you're only really necessary if you're going out on all the really brutal, slushy, icy days. Waterproof bags to carry all your extra layers in. Those are helpful. So you can carry your work stuff and carry your extra layers, even if it's not a super cold day, that you can carry your extra layers in, like take them off and put those in your bags. Some people have extra lights on their helmets. This is just helpful for the shorter winter days, and it makes you more visible during the daytime if you're riding while it's snowing. Just nice to have that extra bit of visibility. And then lastly, this is for the really hardcore amongst us, a patch kit, basically. We all run our tires a little bit lower with the pressure. So this is just if you do end up with a flat, having a patch kit with you. But that goes for most bicyclists, not just winter bicyclists. All right. So, sorry, just looking at my notes. So one of the biggest differences between regular bike commuting and winter bike commuting is the impact that the road conditions have on your bike. On days that are both cold and slushy, your bike will accumulate this buildup that's shown here. And this slush and salt can really wreak havoc on your bike and all of its different components. So again, I mentioned this, but if you can, after almost every ride, just a wipe down. It's really, really important. So like I said, warm water, like in a spray bottle or with a rag, just to get that initial coating off because it rusts very, very quickly. And so after every couple of wipe downs, you can re-lube your chain with wet chain lube, which should only be used in the winter. So in wet and rainy, snowy conditions, wet lube works really well because it's thick and sticky. So it what does it do? It kind of
gives a
deflects the
barrier.
moisture. Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, it creates a barrier, deflects the moisture. However, because it's stickier, the wet chain lube is going to pick up and hold on to more dirt and grime, so your chain is going to get dirtier. But as long as you're thinking about cleaning it up in the spring, it's good. It helps keep that chain a little bit safer from the sludge. Okay. So next slide. So I know Peggy has spoken to this. Some people buy inexpensive bikes strictly for winter riding so that they can spend less time cleaning and worrying about the condition of their bike. We all know bikes are a little bit harder to come by these days, but it's worth checking out used bikes on Craigslist. There are local buy-sell pages, bike swaps, if you're thinking you want to take this route. For me, like I said, I use my regular commuter bike, and I just, as much as possible, try to clean it down so that the parts stay in good condition. Next slide.
Eliana, let me just if I could just jump in there.
Sure.
At the end of the season, you may need to replace your brakes, your brake pads, maybe more frequently if you're riding in winter, just because kind of any buildup of salt, even if you're doing regular cleaning. And I think just plan on replacing your chain at least once a year. So kind of adding those, which are pretty nominal expenses as far as bike ownership goes, will add to the longevity of your bike.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the other thing I might add is it is kind of worth taking it to a shop, even if you know how to work on your own bike and that sort of thing, just because they have, these sonic part washers that can just get your parts super, super clean. You can keep them clean with your soap and water and rag, but it doesn't get in those, all the little crevasses and stuff like that. So it is worth it if you can. To get it cleaned and tuned up by a local shop. Okay, now lastly, one of the best parts about winter biking is that feeling of accomplishment and the bragging rights. So some great ways to keep yourself motivated to keep biking during the winter are to celebrate every ride as an accomplishment, logging your trips, taking photos, sharing them with your friends and colleagues. Next slide. So you can even get rewarded for winter biking. As Peggy mentioned at the top, we are raffling off a few items to a few lucky people who attended this workshop. We also have a couple of upcoming events that might inspire you to try out your first winter bike commute. So the first thing is the statewide winter bike walk challenge that's happening now. Local Motion, CATMA, and Go Vermont are challenging Vermonters to head outside for a bike ride or a walk to collectively record 1,000 trips between now and February 11th. I believe as of this morning, we're at 384 trips. So tomorrow's halfway. If we could get to 500 by tomorrow, that'd be pretty sweet. So for recording 2 bike or walk trips on the Go Vermont app or on the Go Vermont website, you'll be eligible to win prizes from Outdoor Gear Exchange, Farmway Vermont Gear, which is kind of like the OGE of the Upper Valley. And we also got some gear from Terry Bicycles to hand out too. So govermont.agilemile.com. If you don't have an account, click join. It's super easy. And then log your bike commutes. And then for those of you in the Burlington area, UVM is hosting their annual Winter Bike to Work Day celebration on Friday, February 11th. There will be donuts, coffee, swag bags, raffle prizes from Terry Bicycles, REI, for folks who show up. And this is also, beyond the prizes, it's just a great opportunity to meet up with other winter bicyclists, to learn from each other, as well as check out UVM's student-run bike co-op, UVM Bikes. So really fun event. And that's it. The last slide is just a thanks for your attention, some winter biking inspiration. and we can take some more questions.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been wonderful. So Monica's question before we got into the second half was, my commute is all uphill, so I warm up a lot as I go, and it's a pain to stop and take off a layer. And she was wondering if you have any suggestions.
Oh, Monica. Yeah, how's the way home? Yeah, no, I think that's probably one of the challenges is, dialing it in on what that sweet spot is of leaving the house a little chillier than you feel comfortable with, knowing that you're going to be, humping it up College Street and you're going to be sweating your tail off by the time you get to Union. So I would say, like, play around with your layers and maybe wear kind of a less heavy outer layer under your reflective vest. Eliana, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you
sucks.
said it perfectly, Peggy. I relate to it. When I worked at UVM, my commute was all uphill. So yeah, starting off just a little bit colder. For me, I also wear like zip up layers, so it's helpful for me even just to be able to, zip down the jacket I'm wearing a little bit, or like wearing a half zip fleece just to get a little bit of airflow going. Yeah, that's probably my only other addition to that.
Hope that answers your question, Monica. Any info, Marlena's wondering, any info on bike paths getting cleared?
I think the Burlington bike path, don't they leave part of it with snow for cross-country skiing, but do they clear part of it? I don't know. I don't usually ride on the bike path, so I don't know.
Yeah, so the waterfront bike path, it does get plowed, like one half of it gets plowed, and then as Peggy said, the other part they leave for snowshoers and cross-country skiers. But they don't salt it, so snow and ice does kind of tend to build up, but you can totally ride on top of that. And what's nice about it is, of course, no cars to worry about. So if you do have a little slip up, you just put your foot down, take a break. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question, Marlena, is that they do plow it. I don't think they plow all of it, like all 12 miles all the way up to Colchester, but they do plow a good portion of it. They just don't salt, I think, for environmental reasons. And then there's also the Beltline bike path, which runs along 127 from the old north end of Burlington to the new north end. I don't think that one gets plowed, although I ran past it a couple days ago and I did see a plow out there. So maybe they're starting to do that. Would be pretty cool since that's a commuter type route. Yeah, hopefully that helps, Marlena.
Yeah, and I would say, Marlena, if you are biking along the bike path, or really to anybody, like connect to one of the buses. So if you're just starting out, bike part of the way, park your bike or put your bike on the GMT bus, and get up the hill to I don't know. I work at UVM, therefore I'm thinking everyone does, but you don't. So do part of your commute by bike. Again, make this manageable so that you can feel successful in trying this out. Any other questions, Claire?
I don't see any other questions in the chat. If I missed one, I'm so sorry. You could recopy it. It seems like people are just giving y'all a lot of appreciation right now. They learned a lot. Oh, here's one. Is the winter bike to work day only for UVM employees and students, or can anyone attend?
I think anyone can attend. Yeah.
We definitely will not kick you out.
If you ride your bike, if you even push your bike, show up with a bike. And then I just want to put this out there. Might be another comment, but if you live or work near UVM or you're interested in a partner to just try winter riding on a day, I put my email in the chat. Please reach out to me. Like, I would be totally psyched to just ride out. Like, I'm a middle-aged mom. I'm not hardcore anything. But I feel like I'm committed to this, committed to lots of things. And if you just need a partner to kind of figure out, like, turning and gear on the bike, just send me an email and we can find time to meet. I'd be happy to.
I will second Peggy's offer and drop my email for anyone who commutes from the northern end of Burlington into downtown. Would be happy to go with anyone who needs a partner to try it once or twice. How do I do this?
And then here we have, if anyone has further questions or wants recommendations regarding gear, reach out to Terry Bicycle. So we have 2 folks from Terry Cycles on our call. And this is, I'm going to push the Terry butterfly saddle, which is one of my favorite saddles. I have it on several of the bikes in my quiver. And because I think most of our participants are female or femme identifying, you'll find that their customer service is like fantastic and fantastically geared towards us and our bodies and our aches and pains and our ailings and how we want to move in the world. So reach out to Terry, please.
Yes, I will second the butterfly saddle. I have it on my mountain bike and it made a huge difference. So not that we need to be throwing more gear recommendations at you, but here we are.
Thirding the butterfly. All right, folks, I think that's it. This was
one more question.
Oh, one more question. Yeah, go ahead.
So Nina was wondering, might anyone know about the bike path from Winooski along Route 15 going east into Essex?
I think they are plowing that. I haven't done it personally, so don't take this as like fact, but I have heard from others that they are plowing at least part of it.
Okay, it seems like Nina said it's been under construction for a while and was supposed to be done in September, but is still not open.
Any other participants know about the Route 15 bike path going east into Essex? And add something in the chat.
Gosh, we're missing Abby because she uses that, I think.
Yeah.
Nina, we can, I'll talk to Abby when she's back in the office and have her let you know. You can have her reach out to you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Of course. All right.
All right.
I think that is all the questions this time.
Oh, Nick. Oh, Nick, you're great. Thanks. It wasn't plowed last time he saw, and there are definitely sections and intersections that are not finished yet. Okay, so Nina, probably not for the faint of heart in winter. So hang tight or see if you could do part bike and part transit. I don't know. Sorry. All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our guests. Thank you all for sharing this lunch hour with us. And really, you made my bike commute so worth it today. So thank you.
Yes.
Claire, Jessica, Eliana, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to shout out Claire for being our wonderful moderator and Jessica for being our tech whiz and helping with the polls and setup of the teams. We've been doing this for a while, but it's never easy. So thank you to both of them for that support. It's super welcome. and
And
helpful.
thank you so much to our wonderful speakers. Have to say it again. Y'all did a great job. We really appreciate you putting together these slides and sharing with us today. I also just want to say, if anyone has learned today that winter biking maybe is too scary for them and they want to look at some alternative forms of getting to work, my boss Abby and I also help people plan commutes using like transit in your area or anything like that. So I'll write my name in the chat, as well as my email. And Abby Blething, this mysterious woman we keep referencing, who's incredible, I'll put her email in there too. So feel free to reach out to us about any of this as well.
And we'll put this recording, we'll post it on like the TRC YouTube site, and we'll email everyone who registered the link to that, which will also have some of the resources that Eliana mentioned, and give a link to Local Motion. And then Nick wants to know when we're giving out prizes. We are going to do a secret raffle from anybody. It will be will be held by the Russian mafia. No, we are doing a raffle for the prizes after we wrap up this webinar, and we'll notify folks by email. And we'll send the slides as well with the link to the recording. Thank you, Jessica. All right, is that it? All right, well, have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Eliana, are you still on? Is anyone still on? Eliana? You are, Jessica?
It might be frozen.
Oh, sure, you're frozen. Okay.